You're listening to episode 99 of the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman. Just a quick note before you enjoy this podcast. The Hi-Ho & Co meetup that we talk about has unfortunately been postponed due to coronavirus. But do go to the Hi-Ho Silver website, hihosilver.co.uk, and look at Hi-Ho & Co and make sure you sign up to the newsletter. This link will also be in the show notes, but that's the best way to be kept informed when the next event will happen. Enjoy the podcast. Well, on today's Small and Supercharged podcast, we are heading over towards the east side of the country. Well, not literally, I haven't left the office, but we are chatting to Lucy Earl, who you might know better as possibly one of the coolest Instagram handles ever, Lucy. Which is just, I am green with envy. Although, to be fair, if I had that, they would think I was like, the small ostriches. They think I was a small ostrich farmer. Anyway, I digress. Thank you for joining us, Lucy.
Thank you for having me. And there are so many benefits of that Instagram handle because it seems that a lot of Americans have dogs called Lucy. So every day I wake up and I'm just tagged in everyone's dog photos.
You're living the dream.
I am. And I always comment like, oh, I'm so honoured to be tagged with this beautiful dog.
I love it. So can you tell us a little bit about you and your Instagram and your YouTube, where you've got massive followings, let's be honest. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got into it, your accounts, and just that backside of things?
Yep. So it all started on YouTube. That's where I started, my entire career, really. I was doing a marketing degree in London, and my dream was to always go into advertising. I wanted to create adverts, which sometimes is what I'm doing now. And I did a placement year in Madrid, and it was just after the financial crisis, and the company shut down whilst I was out there. So I didn't really know what to do. So I spent the rest of my year teaching English in a language academy. I just did a TEFL qualification. And I noticed that I was terrible at teaching grammar because I never studied grammar at school. We never had classes on it. And so I started reading grammar books, and that wasn't really going in. And then I started watching grammar explanations on YouTube. And I just noticed a huge gap in the market for, I'm not going to say young, because I don't think age has got anything to do with it, but Zoella was huge at the time. Someone who understood that personal connection that you have with when you're watching a YouTuber. A lot of the teachers there were treating the camera as if it were a classroom full of people rather than a one-to-one. The viewer is probably on their bed in their safe space with a phone really near to their face. And so I noticed that gap in the market, and I thought, I think I could do that. Because I think when you start a new project, you have to be either different or better than what's already there. And I thought I could be different, not better. And so I went back from, I'd mulled it over for ages. I was actually with a partner at the time who told me that I shouldn't do it because he was quite it's taking a bit of a dark turn, but he was quite restrictive on what I could do. And so we ended that relationship, and
good call.
I started it. Yes.
Well, good call on all the levels, because you're about to get married as well. So
exactly, yeah. So it was quite hard to go through because I had something that I really, really wanted to do, but someone was telling me that I shouldn't do it. And so I thought about it for ages. And in the end, it was my last semester of uni that I started it up. I went to my dad and I said, Dad, I've got an idea for a business. I'm not sure exactly how it would make money, but I need a little bit of help with the startup costs. And he said, I'll look at it, but write me a business plan. My dad's a businessman, so that's how he went about it. So I wrote a business plan, and I decided that I needed £500, which doesn't sound that much, but it was a huge amount to me at the time because I was a student, and I think my loan was like £3,000 a year. So I was really on the breadline in London.
Oh gosh, yeah, God.
And I bought a secondhand camera, and I bought a tripod. I didn't buy a lens because I didn't really understand cameras. So it arrived, I did my hair and makeup, and then looked at this lensless camera and thought, doesn't look like other YouTubers' cameras. But yeah, posted my first video, and within around 6 months, it started to really take off. It was a slow grower at first, especially whilst I was teaching in my flat full time. I was also going to university, doing my exams and running this thing. And then by September of that year, because I started it in the January, I had to make the decision on whether I was going to take it full time after university or go on with a marketing grad scheme, because I had some options. And my dad said to me, look, I think this is a really cool thing you've got going on. I think you'll regret it if you don't try it. So give it 2 years max. And if it's not gone anywhere, then you'll be 23. You know, you haven't lost out on much by not going straight into the grad schemes. And yeah, in like 5 months after that, I had my own place, my own, you know, editors and things like that. It was really, really exciting.
Wow.
So yeah, within a year, it had got to, I'll be open about numbers. I think sometimes it's really nasty to hear people going on and on about their social media numbers, but I think it's helpful, especially as this is a podcast, so it's not visual. 100,000 within subscribers within the first year. And then at that point, it was providing me with close to, not very comfortable, but some sort of full-time income.
Yeah.
I was on a budget, but
Yeah.
it was, you know, I was getting by and I was paying my rent. And then after that, within the next year, it was on 1 million. And then this year, it's gone up by 1.8 million subscribers.
So where are you at now?
3.4, I think.
I thought it was around the 3.4 mark, which is just, I mean, amazing. But that's such a huge achievement, especially obviously teaching English online. I completely see the need for it, 100%. But did you think it would get to that level?
No, not at all. Not at all. It was an experiment, and I've had fun with it all of the way, and I've enjoyed it. I mean, I'm not going to be one of those people who said that I've enjoyed every moment, because there's been some really terrible moments.
Yeah.
And it really annoys me when people say, you know, if you enjoy your job, then you never work a day in your life. I love my job, but it still is really hard work.
You work well, especially when you started. Nowadays, at least there's so much technology in phones, and I know people don't necessarily who have big YouTube channels film everything on their phone, but there's so much technology in a phone, whereas versus when you started having to have a proper camera to do your filming. Even like the YouTubers now use a little Canon jobs, don't they, with a flippy up screen?
I've just got one of those, so we'll see what I can do with that.
But the quality is amazing on them, isn't it? And they're not a huge amount of money. And I say phones do so much now, whereas when you started, you had to buy all the kit.
Well, do you know what? I didn't actually have to. And looking back, and this is what I always say to people who want to start out, don't go and buy a fancy camera. I bought mine secondhand, and I think I got it for just under 300. I think it was £270, and it's the camera I use to this day.
Wow.
I had the need to upgrade it because I made a smart purchase. What I have had to upgrade is the audio recording software, so the hardware and software. So getting a good mic, it's not very expensive. I've got just a small clip-on mic. I think it's around £50. That's what I use, but it was more the process of finding what works for me. If you have bad video quality and high audio quality, your audience is scientifically proven to stick around for longer than if you have poor audio but good video. So that's what people need to focus on, because I've filmed vlogs on my phone before, but having my own separate microphone, and they've worked beautifully. And now phones are so great that, you know, you really don't need to splash out. When there comes a time that it makes sense for you to, then you should. But I still, on 3.4 million subscribers, have not felt the need to upgrade my camera yet.
But that is brilliant, isn't it? That's such a great message to say to people. Actually, they can get cracking with whatever they've got, or not spend, you know, a huge amount of money trying something.
Yeah, because, you know, I would say don't spend as much on the equipment, but do spend on having someone professional help you with some things. So the only money that I spent really whilst getting started was, you know, when I was editing all the videos myself, and I was way out of my depth, and I just couldn't get past this one. It just seemed like it was problem after problem after problem, and there was one problem that I couldn't find a solution for. I don't know what it was. I think my words were jumping around the screen, and it really wasn't doing my lessons any justice. And I paid for a professional guy to just sit on Skype, screen share with me and tell me what I was doing wrong. And that was far better investment than splashing out on all the gear and having no idea. So yeah,
definitely.
That worked.
And is your account still growing and growing, isn't it, with your teaching English now?
Yes, yeah. So the YouTube's still growing, and I've kind of separated. So I found out that people were quite interested in my personal life as well, which is why I started the Instagram. At first, I started Instagram because I was told you should make the most of this sudden growth in following. This was a couple of years ago, because I had shunned other forms of social media like Twitter and Instagram because I didn't enjoy using it. It was in the era where Instagram was simply people looking really great in bikinis and sharing like really healthy salads, and I just found it a bit negative for me to be looking at that all the time. And so I didn't delete my account, but it just lay dormant for a while. Then I started it up again, and I used it solely as a vessel to promote my YouTube videos in. And then there came a point where it became very obvious that cross promotion between social media platforms was becoming less and less favored by the algorithms. And actually, the reason why people were coming to my Instagram is because they wanted to know more about me, whether that be someone who's learning English and wants to know what life is really like in the UK, and then moving on to see what life is like on a farm and being engaged to a farmer, because that's my reality now. And that's how I've made this transition into Instagram and into lifestyle. I'm not going to call it blogging because I don't have a website with a blog, but I have a personal YouTube channel where I share about my personal life. I started that last year, and the Instagram is now growing as well. It's very exciting.
So your personal YouTube channel, how many subscribers have you got on that?
I've got 50,000 on that.
Which is still amazing. I mean, that's a brilliant number. I mean, it's not 3.4 million, but it's still a good lot of people.
It is, and it's a really different audience, which is really cool. So I adore my English with Lucy audience, but it's really, really exciting to reach a different audience as well, because I've been doing English with Lucy for 4 years now, and I started the personal channel, I think, mid last year. It's lay a little bit dormant for a short while, just whilst I get a pronunciation course published, because that has been a huge beast in itself. I like to do things well once, so it needs to be perfect, and it's required a lot of my time. But yeah, that's been really, really cool, and it's just been growing by itself because I've promoted it in my other videos. Like, if you are interested in things that aren't to do with English, then I've got my personal channel, and I think a lot of the traffic to that comes from my Instagram as well. They're all interconnected, but one of my mantras is to offer something different on every social media platform and on every social media account, which is why I made the transition to my personal life on Instagram, because I don't want to put all of my eggs in one basket. You never know what's going to happen with algorithms, with social media platforms. I mean, look at MySpace a couple of years, well, maybe 10 years ago, no one ever thought that MySpace would die, or no one ever thought that Facebook would kind of shift in how it does things, and the market that uses that. So I think it's a very good idea for influencers or small micro influencers to really look at offering something different on each platform.
And before we go any further, your Instagram has got 200 and...
Yeah, around 200,000. Yeah,
around 200. So again, it's not bad.
No, that's an exciting number, definitely. And that's, again, it's just a really different group of people that I'm talking to on there. And it does feel more personal, because on YouTube, there's no requirement for anyone to have a profile picture or their name attached to their account. You are just talking to avatars, really.
Definitely.
But then on Instagram, most people have an Instagram account, whereas most people do not have a YouTube account with active live videos on it. So it is really nice to learn a bit more about, who I'm talking to and who's liking my things and commenting on my things. So yeah.
So on your Instagram, you did more, I believe, promote your learning English, didn't you, to start with? So how have you transitioned from it being that one, platform where people could come and learn about the fact that you taught English to much more of a kind of, I'm going to say countryside influencer, because I know a lot more of your posts at the moment are going down that route because that's the way your life's going. So how have you made that transition?
It has happened really organically, just from noticing what my followers were interested in, and by that I mean what they were engaging with. So I always look at 3 things when I choose what I post on social media, and I have to balance between them. I have to choose what my followers are interested in and what they engage with, what the algorithms, plural because there are so many of them, seem to favour at any given moment, and then also what I want to post as well, because if you miss out any of those 3, then you aren't going to be as successful as you could be. And especially that last one, because you really risk burnout, which is something I have dealt with extensively. So I think the initial transition was mainly about looking at what my followers were interacting with. And a post that was me against a white background talking about an English verb or something wasn't performing as well as a post of me and my dog, going on a walk in the countryside, which was really surprising to me because I thought that people just liked me for my lessons. I didn't realize that people were interested in learning more. But then I did think, actually, when I see YouTubers that have a very niche thing that they talk about, I always am so curious. I get really nosy and I want to know, who their mum is and where they bought their shoes and all of these things. So it's totally comprehensible. So yeah, I started the transition organically, and then as it grew, I started getting brands that were interested in working with me, and then that made me feel a slight pressure, just because I wanted to do a good job for them, to work with photographers, which has really helped. Well, photographer, really. I work with one called Michael from Lens and Hound. He's just fantastic. I don't know how he makes me look so good. And
I mean, you're gorgeous. Just obviously you can't see this because it's a podcast, but I can. And Lucy is stunning. I think she looked good in a bin bag. But I have seen the pictures from Lens and Hound, and they are really beautiful.
Yeah, he's very, very clever. But yeah, it was from feeling pressure to, well, I think a good pressure, positive pressure to do a good job for the brands and post something that I think they would want to share on their own feeds as well, which generates additional growth for you. And then that seemed to make everyone take my account slightly more seriously. And then I got more passion for it because I was really enjoying the reaction. So it all kind of snowballed that way. Because originally Will, my fiance, was taking almost of my pictures, or my poor mum as well, and they weren't enjoying it. It really wasn't their thing. And I was even getting to the point where I was looking into photography courses for Will, just like phone photography courses, because I felt desperate to make better, take better photos and have better content. But in the end, that's what works for me, to work with a photographer. Will's 6'6", so any photo he takes makes me look 4'2". So, unless he crouches, but he's got a bad back. So yeah,
oh, God.
A nice average height photographer working with me.
Oh, bless him. And someone who, specialised in it, because I'm sure that, your photographer wouldn't be as good at farming as well, and vice versa. So,
Exactly. Will's got his strengths, so it's fine.
Definitely. So the transition was quite a gradual thing and a very natural, organic thing. And what kind of feedback did you have from it? Or because it was so gradual and obviously you really went by what people were enjoying and then did more of that, did you not, what was the feedback like?
So this is actually really interesting. I was talking to another an influencer on Instagram with a very big following, and she was saying that she was feeling really sad because whenever she posted a picture, she was losing followers. And I know that this is something that a lot of people experience, and it's gut-wrenching. So back in the day, there was well, I say back in the day, up until 6 months ago, before YouTube hid the live subscriber counts. They did that for mental health reasons. I was upset about it at first, but actually I think it's a very good thing. you could see your following go up, but you could also see it go down one by one.
Right.
And you can't see that on Instagram unless you're looking at your own account, because it's an abbreviated followership. So the way people have reacted as a whole, it's been very, very positive. But of course, there have been people who are now not interested, or who have maybe followed my Instagram because they've seen it on my YouTube, my English teaching YouTube page, have followed expecting English lessons. I try to make it very clear on my bio that that's not what you get from this. But naturally, when I post a picture of me in a countryside situation talking about what I'm wearing, I'm going to get people, unfollowing me. Now, it all balances out in the end. When I post a picture, naturally I will lose, I don't know, between 50 and 100 followers over the course of the 3 hours after posting. And then it will go back up again afterwards. And it's always a little zigzag.
Okay.
Pointing upwards at the moment. But I actually welcome that, because what you want from your social media profile is to have as many engaged followers as possible. It doesn't matter about the size of your following so much as your engagement. So when people look at my following and they see this big number, they might be really impressed, but they should feel really impressed when they look at someone who maybe has a slightly smaller following, but say they have 5,000 followers, but they get 1,000 likes on every photo. That's also really impressive, because you see a lot of people with huge followings. So say they've got 200,000 followers, but they only get 2,000. That's only 1% of their audience that is actually engaging with their content. So I welcome the fact that people are going to leave and choose not to follow me anymore, because they're either going to lie dormant and not interact with what I post, meaning that it's probably disadvantaging my place. Is that even a word? It's causing a disadvantage. Disadvantaging, I like that. My place in the algorithm. So if the Instagram bots notice that my post is being shown to, I don't know, 100,000 people, but only 1% of those are choosing to like it or are hovering over it for a period of time, they're going to choose to not push out my next posts to such a wide audience. So I may have gone slightly off topic there.
I love that. This is such a good way to look at it, because I'm always telling people like to focus in on the engagement. Don't worry about your followers, worry about the people who are responding, that you can respond back to, that you can make real connections with and partnerships with. But I love that you've taken that a step further, and actually you're like, no, if you're not interested, unfollow me, because actually it pushes my engagement rate up when I'm followed by the right people, which is a brilliant way to look at it.
I think it's a really positive way, and you've to look at it. But obviously, don't take that to an extreme and say, right, get all sassy and say, if you're not interested, unfollow me, because that will also come across very badly. But if people choose to unfollow you, it's not the end of the world, and it's really, really easy to take these big numbers to heart and lots of numbers to heart. But you'll be okay. If anything, you're just a more engaged following by reducing your total following.
No, you're right. So in terms of why you transitioned between your account being purely learning English and now moving, because now you are all your posts more country lifestyle?
Yeah.
And is that because of the way your lifestyle is going in terms of getting married to a farmer? So you've got a beautiful dog that you adore. Is it because that was the way that your life was going, and it would be strange not to share that?
Yeah, I'm just kind of documenting my life, definitely through stories, but I never 100% did just English things. But my life when I was starting the channel is very different to how my life is now. I was really unhappy, actually. I lived in London. I really didn't enjoy living in London. I found it a very lonely place. I was doing a lonely job. It was just me. I was doing the final stages of a degree that I wasn't particularly enjoying. I never really was an exam person. And I've never been someone that's found it really, really easy to make loads of friends. I don't know how people do it in London. It's where do you meet people? No one wants to know. So I was a bit unhappy. So actually, my positive in my life at that time was this exciting little baby that I had, which was my English channel. When now my life is so different, and I have my fiance, my wonderful dog Diego, and lots of exciting things to look for. bang my other. Lots of exciting things to look forward to. You know, it's just a case of I've got more to document. I've got more to talk about, and I've also learned that people aren't as interested in the ins and outs of the English language when compared to how I've organised my kitchen or something like that. I had to learn that, but it's been a learning process. But I'm just at a very different stage in life. It's only been 4 years, but I've gone from 21 to 25, and that's you change a lot in that time.
Yeah, definitely. So what have been let's go lows to start with. We're going to go positives, but I think it's really important, and I try and do it with all the podcasts, we talked before we pressed record about how it's important to be authentic and real. And I think that people see these big shiny numbers and think, oh, I really, really want that. And they see people living their best lives through those little squares. And, you know, it can, I don't know, I think it's important to share the highs and lows. That's what I'm very badly saying. So can you tell us a bit about some of the sort of negatives or the low points on your journey to get to where you are now?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I always find myself really interested in people's lows. Like there's a podcast which is called like How to Fail or something. It's something like that, and it's talking about people's failures. And I don't know exactly what the name is of it, but I did think, you know, it's quite morbid that I'm so interested in other people failing. But actually, it's just because it's relatable, and you're hoping to learn from them and realize that, you know, you're not the only one.
I think that's exactly it. I think I listen to Holly Tucker's podcast a lot, Conversations of Inspiration, and she interviews all these entrepreneurs, and they talk about times in their life or things that didn't go well. I was listening to one the other week about the chap that founded Mulberry, and he kind of got ousted from his own company. I mean, that was really rough. Yeah, it's a good podcast. But it was fascinating to listen to. And it's not a morbid thing. I think it's just as well, because when you're on your own business journey, if you're self-employed, if you work for yourself, when things go wrong, you feel like it's because you're an idiot. No one else has ever had anything go wrong in their whole world. You're the idiot. Yeah. And actually, when you start to realize that everyone has different things go wrong, I think it makes it a much better place.
Definitely. And to see how they got over it, and maybe what they've had go wrong is one of your fears. You know, it's interesting to confront your fears. But I've had many lows in my career. I've had many highs, but I've also had so many lows. And, you know, I was a one-girl show for a long time. So now I do have a nice team around me. But, you know, when I was doing it totally alone, it was absolutely awful. So one of the biggest lows ever was to do with trolling. Now, it wasn't necessarily trolling. Now, I don't like to throw the word bullying or cyberbullying around, but I do think I experienced it here. When I was starting the channel, there was another English teaching channel that I was really inspired by. She was another woman. She was maybe, I don't know how much older than me, not too much older than me. And she seemed to be doing a really good job. And I was really fascinated. I was looking at what she was doing and trying to take inspiration. I've always been careful not to copy. But, you know, on YouTube, I'm pretty sure that my success has come down to analysing what works and doesn't work on other people's channels, whether it be in my industry or not, and then applying it to my own. And I think I've got a good eye for that. Whereas I'm not so good at other things, but I think that particularly is where I excel and in the way in which I apply it to my channel. Well, I, you know, had taken some inspiration from her, and she had been very friendly and had given me advice, and she'd asked me to collaborate on a couple of things, which I politely declined because I wanted to keep doing things by myself. It wasn't so much as a video collaboration; it was a bigger project than that. And one day I had an article. I had a bit of a media storm. So the local BBC came and did a little video on me for the BBC app, it was very small time, but it was very exciting. And they interviewed my parents, which is quite cool for them. And then the Times got hold of it, and they put me on page 3, a huge article saying "World Learns English the Lucy Way," and it was like this really, really exciting time. I was on like ITV News and BBC News and all of these news and TV things. I was on Radio 4, which was the most exciting for me because I got to meet Reverend Cole.
Wow, what an amazing time.
So I was riding this wave, and then she obviously got very jealous, I imagine. Well, she did, and thought that this success was undeserved and that I had copied her when actually I hadn't. And she made a hate video. Now, it was all a bit deranged. She drew me as a poo in the video thumbnail, but 20,000 people saw it. So it wasn't just, it wasn't just no one seeing this. And she called me English with turdy, which I thought she missed out on a huge trick with English with pussy. So
Yeah, come on.
And just basically telling me to back off, to stop, stop doing what I'm doing, to, stop on my channel because all my ideas are taken from other people. And it was awful because it was this person that I'd admired for so long and, thought I had an all right relationship with, to suddenly attack me and to have all of our shared viewers see this. Oh, it was just the most sinking feeling. I remember it was one of my friends sent it to me and said, "Oh, have you seen this video?" I hadn't, and when it said, had a picture of me in the thumbnail, I thought, "Oh, that's cool." She's sharing my channel. And then when I started watching it, I realized that actually this was a really attacking video. It has been taken down. I have saved a copy for my own personal viewing, but it was really nasty. But actually, out of that came a lot of other people in the industry reaching out to me, and I don't think she did herself any favors. Well, she really.
I mean, how was that going to help her?
I just think she had she just felt really, really strongly. There was a very small group of teachers on YouTube before me, and then I came alongside some other people, and we kind of added a fresh take on it, and the algorithm picked us up quite a lot, and we had kind of a fresh look. So we looked at how the algorithm was working and really, found a way to propel ourselves, and in an organic way. Totally
completely.
No spend or anything, but it was a real shame, and it really stung, and quite a few tears shed over that one.
God, I can imagine.
It really sucked, but it's made me, I think it's made me it's had a positive effect in the end, because it made me meet so many other people that had negative experiences, and people that reached out to me and asked me if I was all right, and said, "Wow, that was totally out of order." So yeah,
definitely. And the fact that now you have 3.4 million subscribers on your one channel, and I think that the fact that you've carried on going, obviously I don't know this person who was really unpleasant. I don't know whether they're still going.
No, they're not. They don't post anything new anymore. I think they've had a tough time, actually. So I never ever responded to it or acknowledged it on any of my social media platforms, because from my point of view, this wasn't like a normal action.
No.
And I didn't want to have any part to play in, someone having a quite visible tough time on camera. And I talked to my mum about it a lot, and she said, I don't know this industry well, but what I do know is that things blow over. And she was totally right. It did blow over. And now I just use it as an anecdote. Like, that's all it is now. It doesn't affect me anymore. And it also gives me a really good way of talking to other people who are struggling with, being attacked online, because it happens so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm glad it's happened, but I've learned a lot from it.
No, definitely. And you mentioned earlier as well about burnout.
Oh yeah, that beast.
I imagine that would be in the low category.
Yeah, definitely. Burnout has been it's a constant wave, because you're constantly. I post a video every week on my English channel. Wow. And that doesn't sound like very much. At one point I was posting 3 a week. Oh. And because I thought the more videos I post, the more viewers I'm going to get, and the more subscribers. But it doesn't work like that in the end. I've actually done I love numbers. I really love looking at all the analytics and making spreadsheets and working out what happens and why. And it turns out that posting less frequently really benefits my channel. But when I post
everything else as well, which is good for everything else as well, so you can live your life a little bit.
Definitely, yeah, because again, one of those 3 elements, you've got to do what you want to do as well. And I didn't want to post 3 times a week. I felt like I had to. I really burnt out after that, and I actually didn't post on my channel for a couple of months.
Oh wow.
And what I noticed, which was very, very interesting, was that my rate of growth didn't slow.
Okay.
So I don't think this will apply to everyone. I think I was running an educational channel, and obviously YouTube was definitely trying to push educational channels. I don't mean YouTube as a person, or it wasn't a person in YouTube, it was YouTube systems. They were definitely favoring educational videos, and they were being pushed and recommended and suggested to people. And so actually I'd posted a couple of videos that they must have had really great impressions, or click-through rate. So a certain amount of people were shown this video, and then a high percentage of those people clicked through onto that video. So the click-through rate is really important. So obviously those videos had high click-through rate, and YouTube thought, well, I'm going to show this to more people and see how many more people click through. And then actually my views were higher when I wasn't posting, which made me learn about the type of content that I should be posting. So that a very positive thing came out of that burnout, but I often feel like I'm teetering on the edge of burnout. That, there are a couple of times when I'm about to film and I've got my hair and makeup all done, which is, it's no small task. There's a lot of hair. There's a lot of eye makeup as well. And and then I just don't film. And it's not the end of the world. And Will come home and be like, what are you filming today? And I'm like, shut up, Will. Yeah, I was going to film. But no, I didn't. And yes, I look lovely. Can we just go to the pub? And I don't mean I actually look lovely. I mean just more lovely than I normally
She does look lovely. I know you can't see her. She's gorgeous. I don't know why she keeps putting herself down.
No, I don't want to say like I look lovely. I meant like I look done up. But yeah, because actually the filming makeup that I wear is not at all what I'd wear in real life. It's like a thick layer of this powder that reflects light in a quite a flattering way. So it's not necessarily what you'd wear to the pub, but I think the people in my village understand what's going on by now.
Had a good day filming, Lucy.
Yeah, I come like in glittering and ask for an Aperol spritz or something. They're like, filming? I'm like, well, not today. I tried. Yeah. So, but actually, that's something that I've seen a lot of Instagram influencers and people blogging on Instagram, or documenting their life on Instagram, posting every single day and posting sometimes multiple times a day. And I would just put it out there to just play around with posting a couple of times a week. Just try it for a week or 2 weeks, just to see where it gets you. Because if you look at my Instagram, I only post maximum, the highest frequency in which I post is every 3 days.
Okay.
And this gets me the highest engagement rate. That's what I've found. So do
you think that's because of the size of your account? Do you think that has got a bearing on it?
I think that people don't actually want to see me every single day. I think through stories they do. People can choose to watch that, but I don't think a post every day goes down well. And I think you almost oversaturate. I think I oversaturate my following if I post every day, and they don't like every single time if I post every day. However, if I post less frequently, I get higher likes on those posts. And also I think more thought goes into it. I'm not just feeling the pressure like, oh, that photo's okay, I'll just put it up. I make sure that it's a post it's a picture that will resonate with my followers, and it's also a post like a caption that will mean something to them, rather than just, hi, I've had a good day, here's a pic of me in some nice boots.
which is a good post anyway, because boots are boots. But
but yeah, that could be something that people could try and save their mental health a little bit as well, because it's not easy to do this day in, day out. It seems like a really lovely job, but everything gets mundane if you do it enough.
Yeah. I mean, I always say to people, consistency is important, because I really believe it is. But that could be, as you say, a few times a week. It doesn't have to be 6 times a day at 2-hour intervals.
No. Yeah, and I think people they misconstrue the word consistency. They think that means frequency, but it doesn't. It means, as you said, regular intervals, but they don't have to be close together. Just play around and really, look at if you lose followers after you post something, it can benefit you in the long run. So yeah.
And everyone's account is different as well, isn't it? Again, if someone is, obviously your account, your Instagram account is very lifestyle-y, so they're pictures of you, beautiful pictures of you. Whereas if someone is perhaps, I don't know, if someone's got like a horsey account and their following might be very different, if they're posting pictures of their horses all the time.
Yes.
So again, it is different, isn't it, for everyone? They need to try it themselves and test to see.
Definitely, that's what it's about. It's about testing and making, looking at numbers to an extent. It gets boring to look at numbers all the time, but then, I imagine for brands, I know you work with a lot of brands, it's different. You want to keep reminding people about your products. So Completely. It's not necessarily about, brand engagement, brand account engagement is always so much lower, and that's just expected.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you're not, serving a purpose on there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Sometimes if it tells part of the story, even if it's got a lower engagement, which is always, it's always vexing when you get something with lower engagement. But if it is a key part of the puzzle, it might not be the most exciting part of the puzzle, but it explains your journey or explains your account a bit more. It can still have, I think, a vital point to play in the whole thing.
Yes, it's what you want to achieve as well. I know that the thing I'm going for at the moment is high engagement, and also building a bigger audience in the UK. I'm seeing that really changing, and it's really exciting because obviously I'm reaching a different market or audience, and that means I can have a better offering for brands who want to work with me. Because at the moment, if I have UK as a certain percentage of my followers, when a brand comes to me for fees, I do amend that so that I'm offering them something honest. I'm not misleading them with how many followers I have from different countries, because obviously my followers in Indonesia and Brazil might not be that relevant to them for winter clothing.
Yeah.
So I do make sure I get that across, and I have my manager who's very good at making sure that it's tailored to each each brand. I think it's important. Yeah, because it's a global audience that I've reached with my English channel, and so you've got to make sure that you're offering the right thing, because you're going to get caught out if you just accept a load of things and then a load of campaigns and then you don't deliver results. I think people aren't just looking at your following anymore, they're looking at results.
Definitely. So let's move on to the positives of...
Oh yeah, the positives.
Let's go to the good place now, the happy place. What good things, what the positives along your journey, good things that come out of your account, anything like that?
Oh, there are so many. So I will always say that my first ever big milestone, which was 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Well, at 1,000, I was with my friend in Mallorca and we opened a bottle of cava. That was quite exciting. But then when I hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, I took my parents out for dinner. And that was really nice because they'd obviously helped me by letting me live at home. I had to pay rent and stuff, but they really did make my life much easier than it could have been. I was so lucky to have they're more just general support rather than financial support, because I really just want to get across that you don't need to spend a load of money to be able to build a big following. I know that's what you like to say as well, that you get a lot done without spending too much, which is great. And it's so possible. So it was really nice to take them out for a meal, and then I did it again at 250, and then I did it again at 500,000. I think I owe them a meal actually. I think we went past one milestone without doing that. I'll have to do something nice for them. So those have been highs. Speaking at an event, speaking at my university was really exciting. I got my parents could come. Most things involve my parents. You can probably guess that I have a really nice relationship.
I love that though, but that's really nice. The fact that actually, I loved it when you said, well, I didn't, this bit was bad, but when you said about your previous partner who was, I don't know him, but I don't like him. And it was your dad who was like, no, come on, let's give it a go. And I thought that was so lovely. So the fact to have that support is just brilliant. I love it.
It's so funny, isn't it, that your partner who's meant to support you with everything you do is the person that says no, and then your dad's like, yeah,
Come on. Yeah, no, I'd love that. I'm a big fan of your dad, not the ex-partner. Don't like him. He's
no,
not on my happy list.
no. Well, yeah, that was a long time ago, but I'm, glad I'm out of that now. But I think it's sometimes important to mention, because I do think there are a lot of people that are restricted by their situations. And if anyone ever wants to reach out, I am just, go in my DMs, because it's just a huge downer to have someone not support you. But highs, yeah, definitely anything to do with my parents coming in and watching, because they don't understand. Well, they didn't understand what I was trying to do. And I'm not saying that they supported me blindly, because I provided them with a business plan. I'd love to find that business plan. I really would. I think it was written on paper, actually, so I don't know if I'll be able to find it, because it would be really interesting to see, what came of the things that I had planned. Because I really didn't know what I was doing. But it's nice for them to learn more about it with me and see things materialize, and then see me on the news, and then be interviewed on the news. I remember my dad, so they said, what do you think about your daughter on YouTube? And he said, well, originally I thought she should get a real job like everyone else. And it was so funny to see him say that. I know. But now he's, top fan. He when you did have the live subscriber count, I used to walk into his office and see it on there ticking away, and I think, Dad, that's so embarrassing. Even I don't look at it that often.
Oh, I love that. That's really lovely. That's really lovely.
He is awesome. And so now I do get the occasional perk from companies, and if I can ever involve my parents and Will, of course, and my brother.
Yeah, and that guy.
I do. And Will, yeah. Will's he's had some great perks, so he cannot complain. So that's definitely a high. Another one was speaking at an English language blogger event. I've spoken to big audiences before, and this was a really small audience. It was only about 60 people in a room, but they were all you could say competition. I'm going to say colleagues, because I think there's room for everyone. It's not like you just pick one person to watch. You can pick a whole array of people. We all offer something different, so I don't feel competition. And actually, I have a really good relationship with most of the people that are doing similar things to me. And speaking to them, it was the most nervous I've ever been to speak, which is funny because it was one of the smallest audiences. But I absolutely loved it. And I had this buzz that lasted for days. And I really was dreading it. I wanted to pull out. I never, where I can, I never pull out of things unless I'm ill or something. But this was the closest I've ever come to considering pulling out something, and I'm so glad I didn't. Which brings me on to the thing that I'm really looking forward to, which is Emma from Hi Ho & Co. Hi Ho Silver has invited me to speak at Hi Ho & Co. And I'm so excited, because not only to speak at it, but also to meet everyone that's going to be there.
You're excited to meet me, really, aren't you?
Yes, of course.
And I'm actually 6 foot tall, so you're going to feel. Yeah, I'm a lot taller than I look sat down looking at you. I'm quite tall. So
wow.
When you said about your husband to be being 6'6", and I was like, that's just normal height human.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that'd be nice for him, because you'd meet him and then you'd, not ask him about the weather and things like that, because you'd understand the pain.
Oh, I feel his pain. It's all good.
So I'm a relatively normal height. I'm 5'5.5". Obviously, the half's very important. But because we have photos together, there is such a height difference, and no one realizes that he's that tall. There are like websites that say I'm like 5 foot. It's so funny. People have just guessed. I know it's so. I like to prove people wrong every now and again when I meet them in person.
You're going to love Hi Ho & Co. Will be our 4th event.
Oh, I'm so excited.
And it's Gloucestershire, which is nice. I'm excited about that, because I'm Worcestershire. So I work with Hi Ho. I've done for about 10 years, which is just an insane amount of time. So I didn't realise until I was actually, I get some jewellery gifted at various birthdays and Christmases. And I put a picture in the other day and I thought, I think that's about 10 years old, which is amazing. And I've obviously been involved with all 3 Hi Ho events. Yeah, it is 3. Because the first one was at the Fish in Broadway, and the second one was at Blackdown Shepherd Huts in Somerset, and the third one was at Ford Abbey, and this one is up in Gloucestershire, which is really exciting.
That would be amazing. Well, I just couldn't believe that something like that actually existed, because it seems like a small group of us doing all of this online, when actually it's so nice to have a small group of people get together, like-minded people, and you can ask the questions you've always been too scared to ask, and address the fears that you think just you have, but actually it's something that everyone has. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure about what I'm going to speak about yet, but I am very excited to address things that I think people in the industry are curious about, and be very open.
No, I think it's going to be really, really great, and I'm really excited to hear you speak. And we've spoken, so like the fact that I'm excited after speaking to you a few times now, that should be a real thing about how excited I am.
That's good. I do speak rather a lot. I did warn you before we pressed record today. I go on.
No one wants to listen to one of my interviews and just have me wittering on. They want to listen to the person I'm interviewing. So speak away.
I don't know. I like the solo podcasts. They're good.
It's just me ranting, really, usually. It starts off quite calm, and then something will annoy me and I'll just go off. So that's usually a solo podcast.
I do love a rant. I listen to them when I run. So yeah, when you go on a rant, I find myself going a bit faster.
Well, I'm basically like a health coach. I'm a PT, yeah, personal trainer, PT.
Definitely, yeah.
You don't know it, but yeah. Oh gosh. No, so lots of exciting positives, and also, there's, I suppose, things you said about you had various different opportunities that obviously your parents and Will have been involved with as well. And again, that's probably something that you didn't do as much when it was purely focusing on the learning English.
Yeah, I just get gifted grammar books and things like that, which obviously I was very grateful for. But yeah, it has opened up new doors, and really exciting doors. I think another high has been, do you know Claire Haggis?
Oh my God, she is talented.
They are the most beautiful things, and they feel so luxurious around your neck. And she sent us a couple for a photo shoot and said, do you want to wear matching ones and put one on the dog as well? And that is a small high in the grand scheme of things, but that really sticks out to me because it was just so fun to have my babies involved. Yeah,
no, definitely. Was it the mulberry colour, which is possibly my favourite colour ever?
Divine.
No, she's
gorgeous.
So clever. I love her products. I've got she's on my list to actually speak to you about coming on the podcast, because I would love to find out more about her journey, because
I'd be interested in that.
She's a clever one and a very talented one, and I love the way she comes across on her social as well. So
yes, I love it when people market their products themselves. I just think that's so awesome, but it takes a lot of confidence to do. So I can understand why people don't always do it, but when they do, it's you can just convey something that a model can't. It's your passion and your project. It's really, really lovely.
And it's also one of the benefits that small businesses have over big companies. One of the, they may not have the budget to compete on big advertising campaigns and this, that, and the other. But if they can get themselves across in the journey and the personal brand and the why and everything, people can really buy into that and relate to that. So I think that's a really good point that people need to probably take advantage of more, to be honest, if they can.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
So what advice would you give to people, either people who are looking to get more on social or people who want to become more of an influencer in this space? Because you've had the journey of growing your accounts and of transitioning. So have you got any top tips for people?
Big one is don't put all your eggs in one basket. And by basket, I mean social media platform. So I discussed this before, but you really need to have some layer of insurance, especially if you're taking it full time. It's a huge daunting task to take any small business full time. And definitely try and offer something different on each platform, and then see what works. And I'm very numbers driven. Not numbers as in growth. I like looking at stats and things behind it. And if that is something that interests you, take a look into like analytics software and things like that. And to have that as a hobby, because it can benefit your growth and your following quite a lot. Another one I would say is really just don't underestimate how much you have to learn about finances when you start a small business. So it's very easy as a sole trader to start with, because I imagine most people will start off as a sole trader or will not, and then will have to become one later. And that's not me telling people off. It's what I went through. I was naive when I started. I just saw money coming in to my account and I thought, well, that's my money. And that's not at all how it works. Got roads to pay for, the NHS, all of that. And I let my accounting slip. I never made a huge mistake. I just left it all to the last minute. And I lived in a constant state of slight stress. It was just always like a little itchy thing at the back of my head. Itchy or achy? Achy thing. And I don't have nits.
It's good to clear that up. I'm pleased about that.
Just clarifying that. And yeah, so now I work with a really good accountant. I did do it myself for a little while, just really look into the ins and outs of your accounting. And because if you are earning money from social media, you do have to declare that. It's a huge thing to learn about, but once you've got it under control, it's just this huge weight off your shoulder. And then it's a huge benefit. I mean, you're earning money from social media. That's amazing, especially if it's a side hustle.
I suppose you've got different income streams as well, haven't you? So keeping on top of all those different streams and making sure they're all actually accounted for.
Exactly. Yeah, because the first year of working in this industry, I couldn't tell you until I sent my accounts away what I had made that year, and that was really stupid. I was looking back, but I was 21. I'm not making excuses for myself, but I just didn't know. I had
Yeah, but then you're not taught this at school. When I was at school, we used to do quadratic equations and stuff, which I've genuinely never used. I wouldn't know how to use them now, but what would have been really useful would have been that information about, if you do want to go self-employed, this is what you need to do. This is how tax works. This is how national insurance works. And
when
you any of that,
when you need to register as a limited company. Yeah, there are so many things. What you can have as an expense, what you can't. I really recommend to anyone who has questions about that to reach out to an accountant. That is, I mean, if you're really lucky, you can find one that's specialised in the influencing industry. If you can't, definitely try to go someone with a modern outlook, because my first ever accountant, I loved her. She was so sweet. She was my dad's accountant. She opened an actual spreadsheet, a paper spreadsheet. And then when I was trying to explain where my income streams were coming from and why I was expensing face powder that I only wear for filming, it was just, we couldn't communicate with those things because she didn't understand it. And it wasn't what she had been used to her entire career. And then she retired the next year. So I've moved on to someone who specializes in my industry. And it's just glorious because I really trust and feel confident that I'm doing everything by the book, that I'm completely covered. And if I ever have one of those dreaded audits, then it will all be, I might even be fun. No, it won't be fun.
I don't think it'll be fun, but at least you'll know that you've got someone who really understands, as you say, putting makeup through, and you're an English teacher. I know that's not what you do, but you can see why someone who doesn't understand that actually you teach on an online platform, and therefore you teach on YouTube, and therefore you need to have that, otherwise to make your video perform better, to actually earn more money.
Yeah, I'm talking about that thick old powder. I'm not putting my Bobbi Brown concealer through my business.
we know. But as you say, even if the person doesn't understand what you're trying to do, they'll see it as makeup and kind of go, what?
It's not your luck. Yeah, it's true. And then there's just so many things that you can expense, and then there's lots of things that you can't, and you need to learn about that, because you can cause yourself a lot of drama if you don't. Other advice is play around with posting frequency. You might be doing yourself a huge favor by taking something off your workload. Previously on Instagram, it was all about posting as frequently as you possibly could because it was chronological and stories weren't a thing. Now it's algorithmical, and it's not about how frequently you post, although for some people, as you said, posting frequently will be the answer. But actually consider maybe documenting more the ins and outs of daily life on stories, and then the more special posts on your Instagram feed, and then I think that makes it fair to your followers, because if it was just, you know, perfectly curated posts every 3 days without fail with beautifully crafted captions, you're not showing an authentic representation of your life, and you probably alienate quite a few people. But by also showing on the stories the real you, and lots of other things, and the ins and outs of your daily life, I think you're creating a nice balance.
So one thing that you put on stories recently was that you had some surgery.
Yeah.
But that's not something that you've put on your grid as a picture of surgery, which I don't think you should put a picture of.
No.
But it's a good way to show, as you say, your real life, what's going on in your world, but not always on the grid.
Exactly. And yeah, it's like almost your Instagram feed is this beautiful photo album full of memories. You know, you don't put, you know, someone passed out, you know, after a night out in a photo album, do you? You don't put the reality in your family photo album. But then the home video might be a different story. And so I'd probably I will put about my surgery in a YouTube video on my personal channel, because I know that people go there want to learn about, well, want to know about what I've been up to, and hear me talk more in depth. I would put it on a story, but actually it's too much to explain, and it would be a very long dotted line.
But again, that's a really interesting way of what you said about making sure each platform is really appealing to the people on that platform. That's
Yes.
a really good example, actually, isn't it, of where you're going to put that piece of content that could possibly work on Instagram in one way or another as well, but is much better suited for your YouTube channel.
Yeah, and also help people curate what they do and don't want to see. So if someone isn't interested in my English teaching side of things, which I'm sure many people aren't, they just don't have to follow that channel. And that, I really appreciate that as a viewer. So if I'm interested in, so a lot of my friends who teach on YouTube, I don't follow their English learning channels. I check them out, but I don't need them on my feed all the time. But I do follow their personal channels, because I want to see what they are up to as a person. So yeah, it works. I think it's nice to allow people to easily curate what they have in their feed.
No, I really like that. So tell us all the places where we can find you online. Obviously, we talked about the best Instagram hand in the world, but
Yes, at Lucy, very lucky there.
and on YouTube, you've got the 2 accounts. So what are their proper names?
So the English teaching one is English with Lucy. And then my other personal channel is Lucy Bella Earl. I don't know what I'm going to do with that when I get married, but we'll just have to see. I'm sure by typing in Lucy Bella Earl, you'll be able to find me. Twitter is Lucy Bella Earl, and Facebook is English with Lucy. Yeah, just type in Lucy Earl and you'll probably find me.
Thank you so much for joining me. I've loved our chat.
I've really enjoyed it.
And I love your dad now. So it's all good.
Lovely. You know, it's so funny because obviously Will is 6'6" and my dad is 5'5". So, or 5'5.5". He'd be very upset with me to say 5'5".
That half, you've mentioned the half as well. It's a thing, isn't it?
It is a thing. It is a thing. And when he first met Will, he opened the door standing on a stool. He could look at him eye to eye. Yeah, it is lovely. And he says his motto is "Good things come in small packages." But you might disagree with that because he's 6 foot.
Yeah, that's a bit of a kick in the face for someone who's 6 foot. But yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
You'll have to talk it out with him. It's fine.
It'll be fine. I'll take it. It's fine. Thank you so much for joining me. I've loved our chat.
Me. And I look forward to actually meeting you at Hi Ho & Co.
I know, not long now. Not long at all.
Very exciting.